Hey, good morning. This is Kaoru. Just want to give a couple updates about the lake over at Kentucky Lake. Um, Again, for like the last 2 months, I've been fishing pretty shallow out there because a couple reasons is because there's been a lot of shad spawning out there, a lot of bait shallow, and several mayfly hatches. So anytime you have plenty of bait up shallow, those bass love to live shallow no matter how hot it gets. I know too in August that the oxygen level starts to deplete some deep, and those fish tend to move up anywhere from, on the bank to about 10 to 12 foot deep at the most. They'll move up there on those shallow flats, points, but mostly I've been catching them on top water. I have caught some on a jig, but top water bait I've been using is again the KVD Splash, the small one. And then I can get these untangled. I got a mess here. But then the bigger one, which this has been the one that's been really the most effective. Now, I was helping out somebody and a couple people about what to throw down there as far as the top water bait, and some of them are throwing the whopper plopper, they're taking it and they're twitching that whopper plopper, but a popper still has a different action versus a whopper plopper. I like to throw a whopper plopper on a fast retrieve or just a slow retrieve, not just popping it. I'd rather just throw the popper if I'm going to pop it. But it does have a different action to it, and I think that certain times certain baits are better out there under certain conditions. And then also I've been catching some, I caught a few on this Strike King jig with a rage tail crawl on the back of it. It's a 3/8 ounce one. And these fish here are still, they're like anywhere from on the bank to 2 foot at the most. I even had one good fish miss my bait the other day, and I think it was less than a foot of deep. And then also been catching a lot of decent ones around the docks. I know a lot of the guys I've talked to said they were only catching small ones, but there's certain docks that they're on. I kind of put a little pattern together and figured out which docks to throw to. But again, I've been throwing a popper. You can throw a buzz bait, throwing a thunder cricket around them. And then also I've been throwing out there is the Strike King square bill, this size right here. Has been pretty effective out there. And then it really gets tough. I've been throwing this shaky head with a KVD finesse worm, which is the same setup on 10-pound line that I caught a 9/8 out here about 4 years ago, I think it was. That fish was 12 foot deep, or I was sitting in 12 foot deep. I'd say probably that fish came out of 8 foot of water and got that thing in there. Now, again, if it was a tournament day, that fish probably would have broke off. So, but I was fortunate enough and made my day, actually made my week, because that was my personal best ever. It was a 9.8. So, and there's still a lot of fish out there. I talked to a guy the other day, and he said that they were catching, they must have caught at least 20 out there in the middle of the lake on a spook. But they were all 14 to 14 3/4. And I've seen a lot of good little schools of bass swimming around, so it's been a good spawn for the bass and the shad this year. Kind of like what Brian Thrift said yesterday at the FLW Cup in August. Those fish kind of tend to scatter out everywhere. The bait moves up shallow, up on the flats. There's still some bait back in the back of these feeder creeks, but you just got to cover a lot of water. Every day it seems different. Like one day I could be out fish in an area, not get a bite, and then go back there 2 days later or whatever and catch a couple off that particular area or whatever I'm fishing at, you know, or what am I targeting. But it's been fun. Things are starting to change. You know, we're getting ready to get into that transition into fall. So, you know, August into September is when these fish will start moving and heading towards the creeks and stuff like that to feed up for the winter time. But again, you know, bass love to stay shallow no matter how hot it gets. As long as there's bait and cover, there's always going to be bass out there to catch shallow. I know there's a lot of guys used to ledge fishing, which I'm still trying to get the hang of it, which, you know, just a matter of time of getting out there and spending more time out there doing it. But overall, the last few months have been great out here. Caught some nice fish, numbers of, you know, small fish, 14, 15 inchers, even some nice smallmouth up shallow. So anyway, those are some updates of what's going on, and hopefully, I don't know, this week's going to be up in the 90s, so I don't know if I'm even going to go out. Might head up to Rough River because I have an event up there in a couple weeks with the Kentucky Pro Bass Warrior organizations where we take out veterans, wounded, and active soldiers for fishing for free once a month from March to November. So it'll kind of break it up from fishing down here and hopefully catch some at that lake. So thank you, and give you another update maybe in another 2 or 3 weeks. Thanks.